What is going on, guys? You got Tone here, and I am back with another draft analysis. This time, I am taking part in the CPC Offseason, or the Continental Pokemon Conference, which is commissioned by 681 Shadow. So, I just decided that, hey, Sun and Moon just started a couple of weeks back. Decided that, hey, he's throwing 681 Shadow throwing together a little off-season competition, and I figured, heck, why not throw my name into the ring? And next thing you know, heck, here I am. So, if you haven't heard, the CPC is another showdown league that has some common people like Matty Brolic, Gypsy King, Aberforth, Iron Flash Gaming. List goes on and on. So season 3 of the CPC has ended, and if you haven't heard, season 3 was won by Iron Flash Gaming and the Detroit Butterfree, so congrats to him. On another note, the off-season has kicked off, and so this little off-season tournament was thrown together by the commissioner, and he got 16 people to participate in the tournament, in which we have an open draft. We draft 11 Pokemon. We battle people in our division twice, and then the 2 top teams in each division move on to the next round, and then so on and so forth. So this is the team that I built. This is the team I drafted for the Maine Red Clawitzers, as I am still going by. And just to break down my team and the reasons why I picked the mons I did. So, like I said, this was an open draft. Every team gets access to 11 Pokemon. This is a Gen 7 league, so there are Gen 7 Pokemon are allowed with some bands like Battle Bond, Greninja, stuff like that. I don't remember all the mons off the top of my head, but I'm just going to get into my draft, why I picked the mons I did, and so on and so forth. So, the draft order was randomized, and out of 16 teams, I came up being dead last. So, I drafted 16th. It sucks because there were some mons I wanted early on that I know I'm not going to be able to get, but at the same time, I can kick back, look at what everyone else is doing with their drafts, and then I can adjust my strategy from there. So, I figured, finally got to my pick. There were some mons that I really wanted to try, but I knew none of them would get to me. Stuff like Tapu Lele, I knew would be gone. Manaphy was gone. And then some higher up mons I expected to drop a little bit because people wanted to try the new Pokemon like the Tapus and the Ultra Beasts. So I thought something like a Clefable would possibly drop all the way to me, and it almost did, but Clefable was taken right before my first pick. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I had another strategy in mind, hence if my first couple of picks were sniped before I can go, which was fine. So as you see, my first round pick ended up being Heatran with the last pick in round 1. And the reason why I picked Heatran first and foremost was I felt as though it was necessary early on to get have some sort of core to start off with. I didn't start off with a setup sweeper. I didn't draft no Mega Evolution round 1. I felt as though that having something like Heatran, which is a very solid mon, can Stealth Rock, can run offensive, has access to Taunt, can be a choice Scarfer. It's not limited to one thing. I like mons with a lot of versatility. Heatran also has a double resistance to fairy types, which is great. So, just being a nice solid tanky mon on the special side, base 130 special attack is nothing to sneeze at, even uninvested. It hits like a truck. Has a nice well-rounded stats all around. The 4 times weakness to ground can be fixed with my layer picks, which I will get to in a second. But Heatran just gave me something really solid to build around and build with. Something I could bring to almost every game, but never the same set in back-to-back games. So moving on to my second round pick, as I did have the wheel pick in the draft, I decided to patch up some of Heatran's weaknesses deal with the ground weakness, deal with the water weakness somewhat, and the fighting weakness. So with my wheel pick, I decided to go after a bulky mon that covers for pretty much most of Heatran's weaknesses, and that mon that I picked is the Zapdos. So Zapdos and Heatran have very, very solid synergy together, with Zapdos being immune to Heatran's ground weakness. It resists fighting for Heatran. It also can take on water types very, very decently. Also gives me a very bulky defogger. Can Volt Switch, has access to Roost. And I have that very, very solid bulky combo of a bulky Stealth Rocker plus bulky defogger, which is very, very nice to have in Draft League format. And I couldn't pass up having something like Zapdos to complement Heatran so well. And in return, Heatran covers Zapdos' ice weakness. Rock type, slower rock types like Tyranitar, but it's not like an offensive set, can be done in a little bit by Flash Cannon. So there are those types of possibilities to come up in a draft. So moving on to round number 3. It took a while for the draft to come back to me with my pick, so I had time to think about what I really wanted with my draft, and I figured going after something to continue on this sort of trend that I have of somewhat bulky offense, so to speak. So with my round 3 pick, I decided to make the use of my first pick and go after something bulky, something with priority, something that has amazing typing that also complements the team that I currently have very, very well. And that Pokemon for round 3 is none other than the Azumarill. Another Pokemon complements the team. Azumarill does resist water for Heatran, though Scald Burns are an issue. The poison weakness that Azumarill has, Heatran's immune to. Heatran also covers for Azumarill's poison weakness, and electric types sort of by Heatran a bit, if I EV it correctly, but Azumarill can Choice Band, Assault Vest, Belly Drum, it can even run Sap Sipper, can run Thick Fat in some situations. It's not limited to just being a huge power mon. So yeah, there's a bunch of different sets I wanted to try with Azumarill, and having priority to go along with that bulk is very, very nice to have with this team that I've built already. And it's sort of with Azumarill having Aqua Jet mitigating my sort of speed issue a little bit, because I haven't drafted anything fast yet, but I'll get to that as we go through the draft. But Azumarill, a very, very nice pickup in round number 3. And with my wheel pick for round number 4, decided that I needed something to complete the ever so common Dragon Fairy Steel Core, as I already have my Fairy type in Azumarill, I have my Steel type in Heatran. So I figured this round go after a Dragon type, and somehow this Pokemon fell to me here at the beginning of round number 4, and I couldn't help but pick this mon up. So with my round 4 pick, I decided to complete the Dragon Fairy Steel Core with the Latias. Now, I know some people wanted to try out the new mons. The new Pokemon came with Sun and Moon, but so far none of this Gen 10 Pokemon were really clicking with my team, and the fact that Latias went this far down because of all these mons that were picked ahead of it, it's just so fortunate that I was able to get Latias. It gives me another defogger to complement Zapdos, and the fact that Zapdos has defog means I don't have to bring defog on Latias. I can free it up to run like a bulky Calm Mindset, Choice Scarf. The possibilities are endless. It's not as offensive as Latios, which was taken earlier, but the fact that Latias does have access to Healing Wish, can defog itself, has access to Recovery with Roost, Reflect type, so many defensive capabilities and utility surrounding my team, and it's just amazing. The fairy weakness for Latias and the ice weakness for Latias covered by Heatran. Latias is immune to ground type moves for Heatran, as it has Levitate. So yeah, got the Dragon Fairy Steel Core, Latias, Azumarill, Heatran, and a bulky Defogger in Zapdos. Now, moving on now. Round 5 comes around. Again, takes a while for it to get back to me as I'm dead last. So I decided with my next 2 picks to start building offense, as I have the good bulk so far of my first 4 picks, and I figured that getting into the later rounds of the draft, I need to start having some offensive threats to complement such a these 4 bulky mons I've drafted, while at the same time still maintaining my priority. I felt as though having both would complement my team very well. So in round 5, I decided, look down the list of mons that were available, and there was one Pokemon which I did use in IBL Season 2 that I am very comfortable with, and it put in a ton of work during the last few matches of that season. So round 5, had to go with Lucario. Lucario can do so much. Swords Dance, can nasty plot, priority for days, extreme speed, vacuum wave, bullet punch. Just amazing what this mon can do under the right circumstances. Its speed, like I said, mitigated by its priority. Fighting Steel is solid coverage, has great other coverage options depending on what moveset I give it. But this is just an amazing wall breaker to consider. Considering that how my team is functioning so far, that I needed offense, Lucario was there, which is offense in and of itself. It doesn't even need to set up most of the time to give your team that chance of winning. It's just that good, and in my estimation, it's kind of underrated in draft league format. So I couldn't pass on getting Lucario because I've had experience with it. It's put in work, and I see it putting in work again in this format. So yeah, I'm not going to go too much into detail. Lucario is Lucario. It's a wall breaker. It's a sweeper. It's whatever you want it to be. So round 6, with my wheel pick, decided to continue the trend of offense and continue the continuing of the trend of offense to go with the bulky offense. Decided that they didn't have a ground type yet. My electric resist was Latias, which I don't want to get worn down too much. Even though it has reliable recovery, I don't want to rely on Latias constantly switching it and I'm not having any electric immunity. So I initially wanted to draft Nidoqueen, but Nidoqueen was taken way back in round number 3. But fortunately for me, here in round 6, Nidoking was available. So Nidoking does not have the defenses of Nidoqueen, but sacrificing bulk for a little bit of extra power is not that bad. Nidoking gives me the electric immunity, gives me toxic spikes, which is nice. It has priority with Sucker Punch to make use of that to bypass that base 85 speed, but it's not just limited to being offensive. It's also gonna be another stealth rocker, so Heatran's not so reliant on bringing rocks every single time. So it's a very potent threat under the right circumstances. And Nidoking, while, like I said, doesn't have the defenses of Nidoking, of Nidoqueen. I'm getting the two mixed up. Anyway, it doesn't have the defenses of Nidoqueen, but Nidoking with the added offense, putting that extra pressure on my opponent's team, can Stealth Rock, can Toxic Spikes, Earth Power, Sheer Force Earth Power, Sludge Wave, Ice Beam, Flamethrower, Fire Blast, Thunderbolt. Even its physical move pool is surprisingly good, and its physical Nidoking is actually underrated, since most people will expect the special variant physical. Nidoking is going to be pretty fun to bring as a little bit of a lure, but we'll see what happens. So so far, Heatran, Zapdos, Azumarill, Latias, Lucario, and the Nidoking. So moving on now, round 7, decided that even though I had already good hazard removal with Defog Latias and Defog Zapdos, but it never hurt to have that extra control in terms of hazards. So decided this time I'm going to have to a Rapid Spinner. And this mon fell at me around 7. Couldn't pass up picking it up. As a very, very potent mon with Rapid Spin. And with that, my round 7 pick ended up being the Hitmontop, which I have used in a previous league, and it did a lot of work for me. Mostly every time I have brought Hitmontop, it has never really been a defensive set. It's always been some funky EV spread. But Hitmontop, Intimidate, Rapid Spin doesn't have the best coverage in the world in terms of outside of close combat and maybe like Stone Edge or EQ, but gives me priority, has Intimidate, has Rapid Spin, has Foresight just to make sure it's not Rapid Spin isn't blocked by ghost types, can Toxic said Pokemons, just overall very, very solid utility as a whole. This gives me double fighting types, but with Lucario being more of a sweeper, Hitmontop can be more of used as a defensive role, so I'm not so hesitant on bringing Technician Hitmontop to be desperate if I want an offensive fighting type. So that is my Hitmontop for round number 7. Round 8 came around, and with my wheel pick, I decided now would be the opportunity to try to get a bulky water type. Initially, I had wanted Vaporeon, but Vaporeon was taken already. Alomomola was still available, but Alomomola was a bit too passive for me, and it didn't really fit the structure of my team, even though it's bulky offense. But I didn't want to be too passive and all that stuff, so decided in round 8. Surprisingly that this mon was still available. I thought it would go a little bit earlier, but it's Gen 7, new mons, whatever. So round 8 came around, and I decided to pick up my Milotic. So Milotic, bulky water, recovery, has access to recovery, stop setup sweepers with haze, access to Dragon Tail, Scald, Ice Beam, Marvelous Scale is a great defensive ability for a mon like Milotic to take advantage of the extra defenses, especially if it gets burned with the burn nerf. It doesn't take that much damage from being burned, so that's very, very nice. It gives me a water switch in, so my Azumarill doesn't have to switch in on Scalds and risk being burned, all that stuff. But fits the criteria of a bulky water type. The electric and grass weakness is covered pretty nicely on my team by Heatran and Latias and my other mons respectively. So yeah, that's pretty much my Milotic in a nutshell. It's just a nice defensive pivot to have in a lot of situations, and can surprise people if I run Mirror Coat on it. So there's that. So bringing on the last 3 rounds of the draft, I looked at my team as a whole and determined that there were some Pokemon that didn't really that were very good, like Heatran, but Heatran had lacked reliable recovery. A couple of my mons lacked the reliable recovery, so I decided that now would be the time to get a Wish Passer. Alomomola didn't want 3 water types, and Alomomola did not fit my team at all, especially after I picked my Milotic. But there was one other Wish Passer that wasn't so passive that I could definitely bring at any given point in time, and that Pokemon, all the way down the PU tier, we have Licky. Now, Licky was not my first choice, to be perfectly honest, but Licky does a lot of things well. First off, it is very, very fat. It's not passive at all because it has very decent offenses, even uninvested. It can Wish Pass and keep mons like Nidoking healthy. It keeps Heatran healthy, even though they share fighting weaknesses. It can heal up stuff like Zapdos, so I'm not relying on roosting all the time. Heals up Azumarill. It gets access to Heal Bell. And it has a very, very wide range of moves at its disposal, like Flamethrower, Power Whip, EQ, Knockoff. The list goes on and on. And Oblivious is a great move, or a great ability to have to prevent it from being taunted. It doesn't have Regenerator like Audino, but Audino has less offensive potential than Licky Licky, and there are times where I need to get a hit off, and Licky Licky serves that purpose a lot better, as it can keep itself healthy with Wish, Stall Out, Protect, and if I have Toxic Spikes up, Licky Licky becomes that much more effective at stalling out my opponent and wearing them down even more with the added hazards I have. So that is my round 9 pick in Licky Licky. Round 10 came around, and I was thinking for a bit. I felt as though adding one extra hazard remover would benefit me, as I only had Heatran and Nidoking for Stealth Rock. So I figured having extra insurance in terms of the hazard department would definitely benefit me a lot more. And while Nidoking does give me an electric immunity, it's not a guarantee because of the added weakness it has on, like being weak to water and ground and all that stuff. And Nidoking is not exactly an electric check, as the coverage options does wear it down eventually. So while it does combat weaknesses on my team, my round 10 pick, I decided to go with the ever-evolvable Stunfisk. Now, Stunfisk kind of doesn't make any sense, and is kind of an iffy pick to some people, but Stunfisk does provide me with a lot of things. For one, it's a better electric check than Nidoking. 2, it has access to Stealth Rock, beats pretty much almost all electric type Pokemon 1v1. It's very, very fat, and static is no joke. Having a chance to cripple Pokemon that make contact with it with static and paralyze them is a very, very dangerous thing. But like I said, Stealth Rock prevents me, it allows me to run something else on Heatran or Nidoking, so I can use it more offensively. Stunfisk is just a great defensive Pokemon in general. Physically defensive, specially defensive. Plus, I give it that Wish support from Licky Licky to keep it healthy. Wear things down with T-Spike support from Nidoking, stuff like that. It wasn't really a meme, but Stunfisk just fit the criteria as having that extra electric check, and just having a full Volt Switch stop in general. It's just very, very nice to have, as a couple of my mons are weak to electric, like Azumarill and my Milotic. It also prevents my Nidoking from taking any unnecessary damage if they try to predict. Prevents Zapdos from switching in, trying to take an electric attack. And Latias and Heatran from running any specific EVs to like take electric hits. So yeah, Stunfisk provides me is basically there, gives me hazards, a full-on electric stop, a Volt Switch stop, and it can punish physical attackers with static. There are plenty more roles, but I won't get into details with that. And finally, my last pick, I did not pick my Mega yet, and most of my sweepers and whatnot are physical based, so I decided that a special base Mega would do the trick. And on top of that, I needed my Mega to be fast, because the fastest mon on my team that I drafted so far was Latias. Everything else on my team did not break 100. Nothing else on my team broke base 100 speed. So I needed a fast Mega Evolution, and I needed a special attacker. An option I was considering with the last pick in the draft was Mega Sceptile, but Mega Sceptile is fast, but it doesn't really have any real way of being a threat from a special standpoint. It needed stuff worn down as specific threats weakened or eliminated. And not saying that my team can't do that. I want something with something fast and something that had more dramatic impact on my team. So with the last pick in the draft, I decided that my Mega was going to end up being Mega Houndoom. And Mega Houndoom gives me that fastest mon on my team, base 115 speed, but base 140 special attack, uninvested, access to nasty plot, fire blast, fire dark stab in general is just amazing coverage, and then having other coverage moves, probably like HP grass, or if I run like a sunny day set with solar beam, sludge bombs that surprise fairy types. It's just in the capable hands. In capable hands, it does a ton of damage to any team that's unprepared for Mega Houndoom. It's just such an immediate threat right away, and it also gets access to Sucker Punch. So despite my team not being the fastest, I have a bunch of priority. I have some ways of slowing down my opponents with Thunder Wave, static with Stunfisk. I also feel as though my team in general is very, very well meshed together. Like no Pokemon really overshadow one another. Everyone has their specific roles. No roles are compressed or not compressed. No two Pokemon have this exact same roles and stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I do enjoy my draft. It kind of sucks though for a Gen 7 off-season league that I did not draft any Gen 7 Pokemon, but there were no Pokemon there that fit what I built here, for the most part. So just to run on the team one more time, we got Heatran, Zapdos, we got Azumarill, Latias, Lucario, Nidoking, Hitmontop, Milotic, Licky, Stunfisk, and of course Mega Houndoom. So yeah, if you did enjoy my draft recap of my team for the offseason, do appreciate it if you hit that like button, add some comments if you think what I could have done a little bit better, or you think I could have had instead of some of the mons that I drafted. I feel as though I did pretty good considering that I started dead last in the draft order, so I'm not gonna complain. So yeah, I'm gonna end it at that. It's not really much I can say right now. And I'm losing my voice. It's like almost 2 in the morning here, and I need some sleep. Anyway, if you did enjoy, feel free to hit that like button. Feel free to subscribe because I will be uploading my CPC Offseason matches. I'll also be uploading my IBL Alolan League matches, which will be coming in the next couple of days. Hopefully, probably by next weekend. But yeah, that's going to be it from me. So, until the next time, my name is Anthony, aka Tone, and I'm going to catch you guys on the flip side. Later.